I was casually scrolling down through the videos on my channel the other day, and to my surprise found that my How to Pair in Australia video now has more than 1,000 views. And thank you so much. I can't even comprehend that either 1,000 of you have been watching it or some of you have just been rewatching it like crazy. Either way, thank you so much. But since that one was so popular, I figured more people might need help with how to organize their au pair stay in Australia, and that is why we're starting a new series called How to Au Pair Australia. If you're going off to somewhere else as an au pair, most of the things will probably still be relevant to you, but it is mainly directed at people going to the good old AU. This particular video will cover a lot of the topics very lightly, and then in the upcoming videos we'll go more into depth with each subject. If you do have some burning questions or I completely left out something that you find relevant, please do not hesitate to put it in the comments below. I'll try my best to reply to whatever questions you might have. This first video will be a fire round style Q&A where I took the liberty of asking all the questions because you might not even know what you need to know so far. So I popped all the questions. I'm gonna answer them all. Hold on tight for this one. First question, what do you do as an au pair? When looking for an au pair job, you are most likely going to run into a lot of terms, and some of them are just really nice to have an understanding of beforehand. In general, or speaking from my personal experience, obviously, an au pair is someone who travels to another country either to study or travel, and then has concluded that being sort of an in-house nanny will be the best financial way to do it, and also just the way to make it the easiest for yourself. I know there are plenty of other great reasons as to why you should become an au pair, but realistically you have come to the same conclusion. Your task will typically be looking after the kids, doing laundry, cleaning, cooking, driving the kids to and from after school activities, and so on. The hours vary a lot depending on the family, and so does the tasks. An au pair usually have around 28 to 40 work hours per week. A demi-pair is someone who has similar tasks but works less. In return for that, he or she gets paid less and oftentimes only get paid in meals and accommodation, whereas the au pair gets that as an addition to their salary. Additionally, you can decide if you want a live-in or a live-out position. I mean, they're rather self-explanatory, but most people choose to have a live-in position where they live in the same house as the family, and most families tend to prefer this as well. But sometimes, for various reasons, one might like to have a live-out position, and that can work for a lot of families too. Okay, so now we have a rough idea of what we're going to be doing. Then how do I find a family? Well, like I said in my previous video on the topic, there are two main ways to do this. You can go through an agency, or you can do it like kind of a DIY, which for me and a lot of the au pairs that I met meant Facebook. The agencies typically add a bit more security because you always have someone to turn to if there's something you're unsure about, and also they add a layer of security in regards to the family being screened or whatever. And then finally, they oftentimes have a little introduction trip where you get to get an introduction to what it means to be an au pair, and you also meet a lot of other people in your situation, which is great for networking at the beginning of your stay. As you can probably hear, I am no expert in that area, and that's because I went through Facebook. There are a lot of different groups on Facebook, all called something with au pairs in insert city or country, and for me at the time it seemed that the au pairs in Melbourne was the most active one. However, times might have changed, or you might want to go somewhere else, so just insert the city or country you want to go to, and then there should be groups for that already. I posted in 2 groups, and within the first hour I had more than 5 families contact me, and then within the next like 2 or 3 days I had more than 20 families contact me, and I even had to take down my post to make sure I didn't have more people contact me. So there are plenty of families to choose from, don't stress about it. We will go through what you should put and what you should definitely not put in that post in a separate video later on. How do I decide on a family? Well, obviously this is a rather individual one, but what you should keep in mind is if the family enables you to do what you went to Australia to do. So maybe you want to be off at certain times, go to the beach often, get experience with toddlers, live in a family with a dog, or make a ton of money. Regardless of what you want to do, think about whether or not the family can somehow provide you with these opportunities. Aside from that, once you have narrowed it down to only a few candidates, make sure you text and Skype call or do a bit of online stalking just to make sure you have the best foundation to make your decision upon. Finally, just go with your gut. I know it seems like a rather useless tip because you are most likely just about to fly to the other side of the world and you do not want to do that based on your gut feeling. But essentially, you can do all the research you want to do and still not know if it's the right fit for you until you're there and interact with the family on a daily basis. Now, let's say you decided on a family at last. Do I need a contract? Yes, my friend, you always need a contract. Or let me specify that a little without going into too much detail. You do not need legally-ish to have one, and not everyone does, but I strongly advise that you do get a contract. Essentially, it's a good way for you to know what the family expects of you and vice versa. If at some point one of the parties is unhappy with how things are working out, you can always go back and change the conditions, or you can confidently say with the contract in your hand that this is not what I agreed to. And obviously, you hope that you won't ever have to use it in a legal setting. However, better safe than sorry. Speaking of better safe than sorry, let's talk about the thing that confuses the most of us, which is the visa. So what do I do in regards to the visa? Well, let's talk about what do you not do in regards to the visa first. You do not get a tourist visa and try to work on that because you're not legally allowed to be working on a tourist visa. While all au pair sites state that you should get either a working holiday or a work and holiday visa, the rules have not been stated very clearly on any official Australian sites so far. That doesn't really help any of us, does it? And chances are you're European like myself and has never had to deal with visas before. But I do have a video on the aforementioned visas on my channel already. It is a bit on the heavier side, and obviously I cannot, well, promise you anything legally because everything might change. So please do your own research, but chances are you will need either of the two visas depending on where in the world you are from. They are also considering making a dedicated au pair visa at the moment, but chances are that will be so far into the future if it gets legalized that it won't be relevant to you. Lastly, for this video, let's talk about the question that we're all thinking about but are a little too embarrassed to say, but we have been watching the countdown series of all the dangerous animals in the world, and it seems like Australia is just a perfect place for cold-blooded killers and absurd wildlife. Will I get killed by wildlife? No, not unless you really make an effort to do so. I guess I can't legally promise you that, but me and all my au pair friends are all fine, and Australians live their entire lives without battling sharks and snakes on the daily, so you shouldn't stress too much. I will say that coming from a country where nothing out in nature can hurt you even just a little bit, you do become more aware of and respect nature more than before. These spiders was a bit of a shock for me. I thought I was doing really well when I hadn't seen any particularly large spiders in my first 2 months. But when I saw my first huntsman, gross, I was a little shocked, and I'm not normally afraid of spiders. Not that I was afraid, but it's just huge and gross, and it felt like my life was on the line. I got used to them as we went on, as time went on, because it seemed like once I saw the first one, it just kept on coming back. I nearly died from a heart attack. You can't see it, but this friend just surprised me. Shit, you're so Oh, I'm gonna cry. This. Get out. Ew. Ah! And back for me. But you should be fine. I was more out on the countryside, which obviously means that chances are I will see more spiders than you do if you live more out like in the city. But I just thought I'd warn you. That was all for this video. I hope you found it helpful, and I cannot wait to see you back here for the next video in the series. Until next time, cheers.
I can take you down for a ride. I take you around my life. Jaywalking, crosswalking, lip locking, but you, I know it, you know it.